Alright then guys, I'm not gonna lie, I kinda need to make this a quick one because I'm way overdue for sleep, way overdue for work, way overdue for a lot of things that I need to do. So I'm gonna do my best. Today's thing was how to deal with haters. This probably should be a long one and I'll probably go on a bit more into it again in another video. But last night in the stream we had a very crazy incident. We had another streamer who used to be a good friend of mine basically just cause a huge commotion and drama. Like, basically, we had a whole disrespect blowout and just huge fest in both of our streams over something really silly. I'd been a good friend of his since he was a smaller streamer. He's been a good friend of mine since I was a smaller streamer. We've both come a long way since then. But basically, a lot of things were said and were done that should have just not happened, but they did. And that's, I think, is the important thing. And I don't think that that's important. I think it's important to say let me rephrase that. What I'm trying to say is what's important is a lot of things that shouldn't have happened. What's important is that we acknowledge that they did happen and not pretend like they didn't. We're adults. We're still people, even though we're streamers. And I think it's much better to acknowledge what happened instead of pretending like they didn't happen and hoping that it goes away or, just kind of being fake with each other. I've never been a fan of that. I'm not a fan of watching streamers where I feel come off that way. I'm not a fan of YouTubers where I feel come off that way. And I feel like if you're going to connect with people, you should be straight up and honest with them. My viewers could see that I was upset at the situation. I was extremely upset, and we spoke about it for quite some time. But whether it be that particular situation or any situation, a lot of streamers I know and I talk to try to avoid drama, especially when you have things like haters and stuff like that. And I'm not saying that avoiding drama is like a bad thing or what you shouldn't do, but a lot of times when you try to avoid a situation or you ignore a situation, it's kind of like it makes the situation worse. John Maxwell, I got this quote from John Maxwell, although I do believe he got it from somebody else. But one of the things he always told me is a big problem, it was a small problem that nobody paid any attention to. And so like a big blowout or a big drama event or anything big that happened in your stream probably started off as something small that you decided to ignore. So if there is ever drama in your stream or if you ever have haters, if it seems like a small issue, don't be afraid to conflict it and nip it in the bud and move on from it. A lot of times, especially me, because I play a lot of competitive games, I get a lot of people from the other side of the team who are upset with the outcome of the game who will come in and they'll trash talk. And for me personally, I kind of enjoy it. Like, I'm from the Gears of War community. Trash talking, even Call of Duty, is kind of something you go back and forth. I'm best friends with people who we met, talking trash to each other in a Gears of War lobby. Not even kidding, we said some really rude and nasty things, and now we're best friends. I've been the best man at their wedding and all sorts of craziness. That's just how I am. That being said, so if someone wants to come into my chat and, say, man, you suck, or that was stupid, or you're bad, or blah, 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 usually I'll let them go for a little bit and, say their piece. As long as they're not being derogatory, talking about, my race, my, anything that might be misconstrued as, homophobic or racist or anything like that, we can go back and forth about how we played the game all night long. I'm entirely okay to do that. My personal thoughts for you is, again, you'll have to decide what you want your chat to be like. I don't let it go on for too long in my chat because I like to keep my chat positive. But me and my chat kind of usually enjoy it as a joke or a meme and then kind of move on from it. But then, like I said, sometimes the people stick around. I've had people I came to your chat someone to say you were a douchebag, but you're actually a pretty cool guy. So I think I'm going to drop a follow. I'm like, hey, man, appreciate that, fam. Appreciate that follow. He's like, you're a scumbag too, but you're my kind of scumbag. And that's, you know what I mean? So he doesn't necessarily, even though it started, how did Drake say it? Working with the negatives can make for better pictures. Even though it started negative doesn't mean you can't turn it into a positive. But that all is going to come down to you and your personal personality and how you should handle it. The one thing I would say is if it is staying negative, don't let it kick in your chat for too long. You don't want that kind of stuff in your chat. You want something that feels comfortable to hang out with and want people to have a good time and enjoy themselves, including yourself, for the health of the stream. So If it's being negative, then you don't want to let it stay negative for too long. If it's ever derogatory or insulting you to, like, you know, sexually, racially, whatever, weight, anything like that, don't let that be a thing either. You know what I mean? There's certain lines they shouldn't cross. If they don't understand that, then they need to be gone. And lastly, don't ever let them attack somebody in your chat. For me, it's whatever you want to say to me. When I'm cool with it, that's cool. We can go back and forth. Is the second they start talking trash to someone else in your chat, you need to snip them in the bud. You can give them that hot 600, permaban them, whatever you do, but never let someone who's being a hater come and attack your community in your chat. You are the leader of your community, and it's your job to protect your community from all of that stuff. Yeah, they can stand up for themselves and all that stuff, but never let anything like that fly in your chat. It is your responsibility to nip those things in the bud. So, and if your mods don't do it on their own, then that's something you need to do first and foremost. That's just my opinion on that. As you're dealing with major situations, especially like maybe situations with other streamers or things like that, me personally, when we had the big blow up, I spoke about it at length with both my chat and my moderators and things like that. I don't think it's great to dwell on drama, but at the same time, I'm not the type to pretend like something didn't happen. I know my chat's going to want to know what happened. I know my chat's just going to go back into VOD and find out what happened for themselves if I don't. And I don't want them to feel as if I'm hiding things from them. And I'm not going to be like, oh, I'm in a bad mood, but then not have them understand why we're in a bad mood or what's going on. So I treat my chat like my friends, like my family. I don't let them too much personal, but since it happened on stream, I told them my opinion on the matter, how I felt about it, what I felt was right, what I felt was wrong, and then we moved on. And if anybody else came in the chat asking, myself personally, I let them know what the situation was. Because and the reason for this, and there's a very important reason for this, the reason why it's not to keep the thing going or to keep the drama going or anything like that, but these people are part of my community. They're coming to ask me if I'm okay and ask me what the problem is. So I'm going to tell them my side of the story. I'm not going to let them hear from somebody else, that person or that person's followers or that person's viewers or that person's supporters or some third party who only came in during the second half of it. I'm going to tell them what happened from my perspective and why I did what I did so that they can make a decision on how they want to move forward with me afterwards. But since I treat, again, they're not going to know everything detail of my life, but because I do give them some knowledge of who I am and I want them to feel like they're actually real with me and they're able to connect with me, I want to give them my opinion and my rundown of what happened, and I want it to come from me. Not from a timer, not from a clip, not from a VOD, not from a clip taken out of context or a quote taken out of context. If they ask me what happened, I'm going to explain to them what happened. That's it. And then, of course, I'm not going to restart the story in mid-story a bunch of times. But if someone asks me again, if I explain it once and someone asks me again later, I might give them the TLDR, but still go over with them. Someone asks me an hour later, I'll talk about them with them. Again, that's not to draw out the drama, but if there's something happen in my community, and if it can affect my community in any way or anybody in my community, I want them to hear about it from me and not from anybody else. So that's just how I handle about that situation. You don't run into too many major stream drama things, but at the same time, streamers are people have issues, people conflict, and it's not necessarily a bad thing for people to conflict. Hold on. Huh? Okay. It's not necessarily a bad thing for people to conflict. So, sorry, family's going to the gym. Either way, guys, that's how I feel like you should. That's how I deal with haters. I can't really tell you how you should. Only things I'll tell you for sure is 1, don't let it get derogatory. 2, be willing to try to turn negatives into positive because it is possible. And 3, don't let them attack anybody in your chat. And for anything major, whether you be a big or small streamer, whether it be with a big or small streamer, whatever happens, don't ignore it. If it becomes a scene, address the scene. Don't ignore the elephant in the room. Because if you don't give them the answers, they're going to go find the answer somewhere else, and it may not be the truth or may not be what you want them to know. So it's better coming from you than from somebody else. So just address it. Either way, guys, That's gonna be it for me today, guys. This has been Shino, day 26 of your 30 days of Shino. We only got 4 more days after this, boys, and we're almost there. Till then, though, ladies and gents, as you already know, my name is Shino Bobby, and you're Gaming Ninja. Much love and respect. Thank you guys for all the support. And until next time, I'll see you guys later, alright? Deuces.